Yes, people, and pre-season is done. It's finished. We are now heading into the Premier League season, and I'm so excited just to see us back in the Premier League. And I'm genuinely interested to see what we can do this year. So let's see. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through pre-season, give my thoughts on certain individuals. Obviously, I've got my ranking slash rating system and how I thought players did in pre-season based on the games I've seen. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. Hope you guys enjoy this one. So obviously starting with and I'll have to move my head around, but for now, just off the bat, is an NA because he didn't play enough for me to feature, but I put him on here because he will be part of the squad in the league. So that's why I put him on there. But for me, although I thought he did well when he came on against Man United, I think he actually, he did really well one on one versus Hoyland. But yeah, but he's there. However, the three main ones, the ones that played most of the preseason, played a lot of preseason, got a lot of minutes between them, showed some different partnerships as well, which is something I liked. Some decent little partnerships in there. We had a Rodon Biol, I believe, at one point. We had a Strout Biol for a little bit, and we had obviously the Rodon Strout, which it will be the first game of the season, given the fact that Jacob Biol will be suspended. Now, individually, and the unit score, as you can see, averaged out with the scores by the way, is around 6.8. Strauch, for me, has looked the best. I think in terms of minutes played, and that helps, of course, with sharpness. I think Biol's looked good when he's come in, but honestly, like, I just feel like with Biol, there's not really been a huge test. I think when he played in the Manchester United game, that was early on in pre-season, both teams, or especially them, they were not up to it. He didn't really have a challenge in that game. He kind of cruised through it. And then since then, obviously he's not played too much against the bigger teams because we're preparing for the season. He won't be there the first game. But when he's played, he's looked solid. I've liked Strout this preseason. I think he's looked really good, really composed, strong, as usual, like you'd expect. So I had to give him a 7 with Biol because I think Biol's good, even though the sample size is smaller. He's a player I'm really looking forward to. I can't wait to see Biol in the Premier League next year. It's going to be very, very fun. Rodon for me is a bit of a slow start with Rodon, I've realised, particularly for us. I think even in his first season, just a few games, but he gets into it. He gets into it, does Rodon. He plays at a very high intensity, a very high kind of emotion. He plays at a high level, as you can see from the picture. He's always massively charged in the game, which is good. I like that in a centre back. Obviously, he's good at controlling that. It doesn't go out of it. It doesn't go out the window. He doesn't go crazy with it. But I just think his high standard that he set this year. I think there were a few moments against AC Milan where defensively I thought it was poor for his standard again, and just getting into it is Joe Rodon. But I think he's been solid. But he's just getting into it. He's just slightly behind the other two, in my opinion. But yeah, as a unit and as a group, I'm very happy with this team going into the Prem. Nothing's going to be easy. You're not going to get perfect centre backs that are good at everything. We're not at that level. We can't do that. I like what we've got. One concern I do have the centre backs is we're still not seeing goals from set pieces. We're talking about we brought all these big players in. We're still not scoring goals from set pieces. That's one thing we need to improve. As a unit, I like it. I do like it. It's very composed for, is what I'll say. I like how composed it is. Moving on to the fullbacks. Now, what I will do, I'll move my head up here for this one. Now, I'll start off with Bogle, and I know it's difficult because the injury and the sample size isn't big. But honestly, in the, what was it, 3 games he played or 2, he did look sharper than everyone else. He looked game ready more than everyone else. I mean, in the entire squad. I think in every game he played, he was the best player for both teams. So I'll give him a 9, just based on that. Now, obviously, the elephant in the room, he's injured. That won't help, especially the last 2 weeks of pre-season. But he looked really sharp before that. So maybe he'll just come back at that level. Again, the competitiveness of the fixtures increased, and he worked part of them. So that will affect the start if he is in, and hope he's in for the first game of the season. But I think we can all sit here and agree that Jayden Bogle looked ridiculously good in the 2 or 3 games he played in pre-season. Honestly, I was so impressed with him. Just the way in which he just kind of carried on the form of last year. Didn't look one moment like he'd regressed fitness-wise or sharpness-wise. That's the key thing for me, how sharp he looked. So I'd give him a 9. I know, I don't usually. And Schmidt, I'll do this quickly. I don't want to batter him. He's not looked at the level required for the Premier League, is what I'll say. Struggled in the 2 games. It's hard for him. Look, he's not played a lot of football. There's a big sharpness thing. There's adjusting to the system, and maybe that's why Farke's not just trust him. He's just taken kind of too long to really grasp what he needs to do in that role at the intensity level that is required, and he's not looked on it. I'm assuming he'll go out on loan. But yeah, Isaac Schmidt has had 4. I just think he looked poor. Look, not every moment. He's had some good moments in games. I'll give him credit. Of course he has. But I'm just chalking his general positional play, his general kind of reading or understanding of what's going on and reacting as opposed to being proactive within games is something that I've noticed. But yeah, he'll go on loan. Hopefully he smashes it. Sam Byram, I give him a 6. Again, nothing spectacular. He's not looked ridiculously good, but I think he's looked relatively consistent. So yeah, Sam Byram got a 6 for me. And Gabriel Gudmundsson, one of the new signings, seriously impressed with Gabriel Gudmundsson. He just gallops. I just love the way in which he decides to attack, and he just runs in a straight line forward into a space. You know, give me the ball in there. Relatively quick, good athlete, excellent athlete. There's been some moments where he's been beaten down that right side. But generally speaking, I just think Gabriel Gudmundsson, I don't know what you guys think as well, has probably been, if not from one other guy that we'll talk about in a minute, probably the most impressive and consistent performer in pre-season for us. You guys agree? I know there's players that have probably played better individually, but I just think he's been relatively solid in every game he's come in. He's come in and done what I kind of wanted him to do as a fullback. He's got forward, he's been dangerous, he's kept width well. There's been times where he's driven inside with the football, made good decisions. So yeah, I've been relatively impressed. I think for him as well, as a new player coming into the league, coming to this team, he's got a really good batch behind him now. That'll do him really well. He's played most minutes as well. So yeah, big up Gabriel Gudmundsson. He's had a very good pre-season. He's looking ready for the season. So yeah, that's the fullbacks. And I give it, look, I didn't give it, the aggregate score, the average score is a 6.75. Obviously, that's brought down by Schmidt drastically. But what I like, and this is the key thing, the 2 starters, or assumed starters, Bogle and Gudmundsson, were very good in pre-season. However, behind that is a worry. I'll talk about that at the end as to what we need. That's the fullbacks. What do you guys think of the fullbacks? I think they've looked solid. Midfielders. Oh, there's 5 in here. And before I give individual, I love this midfield. If we're playing a 3, I think it's fantastic. I think what we've seen, generally speaking, from the midfielders is so much kind of rotation in terms of when they attack, who attacks, who covers, who can do what, who wins the second balls. There was times against AC Milan where Anton Stack was playing up against the strikers, playing just beneath them. There was times when Anton Stack was covering left back when Gudmundsson went up. You know, there was times when Tanaka was between the centre backs. There was times when Ampadu was between the centre backs. Then with Longstaff, there's such a good rotation in there. I've been really impressed with that side of it. There's a lack of creation in there. Now, it's creative in a different way, like Stack gets about. Oh, like I said in my video, if you've not seen the video on Stack, go watch it. He just gets about. He does his thing. He'll start deeper. He'll wander up. He'll get about. He'll put out fires. He'll just get about and do his thing. And he sings very good. He's played for Germany. As I said, very consistent performer for years and years and years in the Bundesliga. Very consistent. And you can see why. He's just good at what he does. He reads the game extremely well. Does that on Stack? I give him 8.5 because I don't think the sample size is as big as he came in later. I thought he was good in the other games. I do. But he weren't as good as he was in the AC Milan game, where he was outstanding. If he'd been at that level, which I didn't expect him to do, having just come in, obviously, for longer in pre-season, then obviously the score would be higher. But that AC Milan game was just show what he can do and just how effective he can be as a player in this team. But yeah, I think Tanaka's gone under the radar this preseason, I'll be honest. Everyone's got a new toy in stack now that Tanaka's kind of been left. I want to pick him up because although he's probably played less than maybe expected, I think every time he's played, he's just looked a level above what he did last year, genuinely. Assuming, again, the assumption that the opposition are better as well. Not assumption they are better. Who were better. Thought he was the best player on the pitch against Manchester United. Thought he was really good in the last 2 games we played when he came on. Set the tempo, changed the tempo against Villarreal when it was dropping. Got in really good high positions. And then, obviously, against AC Milan, that midfield 3 of Tanaka, Stack and Ampadu just works so well in what they were meant to do. There's lacking certain aspects that them players are not with the creative side of it. But together, as a unit, it worked extremely well. Tanaka just looks the part in this team. And I have to give shout out to Grove as well, because he's consistently come in and done his job. People, this is what annoys me, it seems just to be a Grove thing. People criticise him for being what he's not, which you could take for any of these players. But he is basic in what he does. But it's underappreciated how sometimes you need a basic player in there that can do the basic things and do them well. He doesn't come in and play bad. He comes in and does what he's told. He does it decently. The manager will be happy with him. Very. That's why he always uses him. He's always useful in the squad. And Sean Longstaff, now, I'm not going with the notion. I've given him a lower score. I'll tell you why. I'm not going with the notion that people are saying about Longstaff. I think yes, because he's give a few passes away. It's down to sharpness. When you're hesitating on the ball and you don't see a guy in your peripheral and you just take a second too long to give a pass and then it gets cut out, that's sharpness. When your pass doesn't quite find the marker when you're passing it forward into the striker, that's sharpness. He's hardly played. Look at all these players here. Look at how many minutes all of them played last year. No, Grave wasn't always in the team, but he still played a lot. Look how much Longstaff has played. It's sharpness. For them guys, for the 4, for Gruev, Tanaka, Stack, and Longstaff, Ampadu, sorry, not Longstaff, this, for them, was about setting that level, setting that standard, finding, a team, a cohesion with each other, understanding the role, understanding the job, understanding who can do what. For Longstaff, in my opinion, the first part of it was getting sharp. He's behind them in that sense. So there was times, I'll admit, where he didn't look sharp. But his role is underappreciated, and it always will be. Always will be. He still looks solid. He's, again, in the midfield 3, he looks very good. He still does his role. He's won the times. He won the ball many times this preseason, high up in presses. He's read passes, he's intercepted. People don't talk about that stuff. He's done it really well. The sharpness isn't there, but the brain is still there. But yeah, that will come. And that midfield, if we're playing a 3, there's so much good rotation in there. So much good. Ampadu as well, solid this preseason. Letting the other guys do the creatives, or the creative stuff, the more advanced stuff. Him doing his role really well. Making sure, wherever he goes high, wherever he stays deeper, making sure that he's always in a position to either intercept, cover, because that's what he's really good at. Being a captain as well. So yeah, really like the midfield for what it is. Let me just clarify. Wingers. Right. Now again, I'll caveat this if anyone's new here. I was a winger. I've worked a lot with wingers. Most of the stuff I did, before as not as a coach, but as an analyst. But for the uni team, a lot of our work, a lot of our creation, most things we did were based on wingers. We had very good ones, and they won us the games. So a lot of our work was on wingers. I'd watched so much winger clips for individuals as well. I've done individual work for wingers. Wingers is my thing. Now, the unit score is 6.2. That's also brought down by Jack Harrison. I'll explain that rating in a minute. And I'll argue that I've actually been generous here. I could move each of them down apart from Harrison, probably 0.5. Now, what I will say Nonto, for me, has by far been the best winger this season, this pre-season for us. I've been seriously impressed with Wilfred Nonto in a certain sense. I do think he looks very sharp. Again, talking about sharpness, he's clearly coming to this season extremely motivated. Some of the others do not look on it. They've had injury problems. They came back late, whatever. He looks so sharp. Everything is quick. And he's looked our most dangerous attacker. However, this is the same for Nonto, Aronson, Dan James, and Harrison. I already said that. Aronson, Harrison, James, and Nonto. Not Ramazani. I'll talk about that in a sec. Them four, for me, in my opinion, they're not as direct as they need to be. As a winger, and this is so frustrating against AC Milan, James did it a bit. James did it more than Nonto, but didn't play as well. This is what it is. When you're 1v1 with your fullback, which they were on so many occasions, by the way, the decision all the time, I don't mind this decision sometimes. It works. It does. It works sometimes. But it's variety. Their decision, especially on Nonto's part, was always to cut inside. But it wasn't cutting into one man, one-on-one cutting inside. It's cutting into 3 or 4 bodies and then expecting a movement from a striker or a movement from someone else or a 1-2 with someone on the edge of the box to try and then fit the ball through when you're already on the edge of the box into that tight space and create a chance just over the defenders. Like I said, I don't mind that. It works. But it's all we did on that left side. We hardly went on the outside unless Goodmanson came up. We hardly went on the outside. Solomon got criticised for that. These other guys need to do the same. I'm massive on wingers, 1v1. Embarrass your fullback, take your fullback on. And people say it's manager instruction. People use this about Pep. And he said it many times, it's not true. He wants his wingers to destroy the fullbacks. That's on them. Every manager. If you're a winger, even if your manager says, look for the pass, Farke will love it if you take your winger on when you're exposed 1v1 out wide and you're literally attacking the box in the corner of it, where it's cutback season. How many goals did we score from cutbacks last year? Endless. What we're trying to do, we're just being a bit too passive in that sense. I need Nonto to take his guy on more. I need Dan James to take his man on more. I need Aronson to take his man on more. I need Harrison to do it. He's not doing it. That's why I give him a 5. Ramazani does it. And that's one thing I praise him for this pre-season. He's not had many minutes. But when he's come on, he's looked to take his guy on. You know what he's looked to do at the end of that? Shoot. The way we play out wide, it's decent. It's nice. There's some good movement. But it hardly ever this pre-season has left to a shot. We need to shoot more. We're not shooting enough. Our wingers are not shooting. Of course, when you're Dan James and you're on the right, that's a little more difficult because it's on the outside. But we need to be putting ourselves in positions to shoot more. This goes for anyone in the team. We're not shooting enough. We're not bothering the keeper. Get really good until the box. I need Nonto to do it. I need him to take the man on. He scored this pre-season. I can't remember who it was against. By doing that. If you're cutting in, there's time to do that when you can expose and there's actually a shooting angle. But when Nonto cut in against AC Milan, it was almost backwards when he cut in. It was going backwards and backwards. And like I said, that works at times. It will. But you have to be different in the way you build up. You can't just always be direct inside. You have to go on the outside. It was there many times. That's the same for every winger. People use this narrative that honestly, people, go do your research on what Pep said about wingers. Look at his wingers before he came to Man City. Look what they did. Look at Farke, forget him. Look at Farke's wingers. Always been direct. Well, they've always been in positions round the box where they can shoot, where they can get shots off. It's a massive part of the game. It's our creation. It's where we create. We create out wide. Be creative out there. That's my message for the wingers. Although, and I will caveat by that by saying, I've been very impressed with Nonto in a certain sense. I think these look very sharp and dangerous. Just beat your man more. Do some step overs. Do something. Little ball roll past him. Do it, because I think he can. He did it when he first arrived. Did it endlessly. I've seen him destroy really good fullbacks doing it. Don't be one-dimensional. Go on the outside. Or go out to go in. You know? Hide it. Don't be predictable. So yeah, that's my little rant about the wingers. Okay, it is a 6.2 based on the ratings. We need one more for me. Everything I explained, we need to bring someone in who has track record of doing that. People say left. I don't know between left and right. I don't mind a right-footed player that's a right-sided player that's left-footed that's going to do that. We need numbers. We'll need goals and assists from these wingers this season. And to do that, they need to be selfish. They need to be direct runners. They need to shoot. They need to get into the box in shooting areas. We've not done that pre-season. Good stuff they have done. Like I said, Aronson was very good against Villarreal. It was all industrial stuff. Good work. Good wide work. 1-2s. Where's the killer instinct in them wingers? That's why I give Harrison so low. He works hard. His positionally, he's very good off the ball. He does his stuff. He's always in a position to receive it. His movement is sharp. Quick movement's very good. But when he's on the ball, take your man on. Take him on. At least into a good crossing position. Ramazani does it more. It's just the other stuff that he needs to work on. The 98% stuff. You know, there's a thing, and almost every manager that I've been on just told me this. As a player in possession of the ball, you will have around 2 to 3 minutes per 90 per game of the ball. That's it. As a player, 2 to 3 minutes. The rest of it, the 80 odd minutes, you're not touching the ball. That's the side of it that I think going on what the manager says and what other managers said in the past, Ramazan needs to work on. Because on the ball in his 2 minutes, he's very effective. We can't deny that. He seriously is. Whereas Harrison's the opposite. At 85 minutes, where he's not on the ball, effective, good. On the ball, where he needs to work. So that's the decision. So yeah, that's my rant. I'm saying this because I like them. I like them all. I think they can all be so good. And it is pre-season, and this is why it's important. But come against Everton next week, I need to see confidence in them. I need to see Nonto take his fullback on. Embarrass him, because I think he's capable of it. I really do. But he's not been doing it, and it frustrates me. All of them, by the way. I'm saying Nonto because he's looked the best and he's played the most. He's probably been, he has been our best winger. Anyway. Strikers, very quickly. Joe Perreault, Lucas Mecha. Now, obviously there's two of them, and generally speaking, they've both been pretty decent, so the unit score is very high. And what I'll say is, in terms of, again, the overall 90 minutes, I think you get much more from Lucas Mecha than Joe Perreault. However, Joe Perreault has them stinger moments. Whether that's a quick combination on the edge of the box, a 1-2, a decent pass, a through ball pass. He's very good at pass. His pass weight is a joke. Underrated. Or whether that's a finish. He's excellent at all of them. Whereas the Mecha is useful everywhere. What I really like about Mecha, and I wanted to see this, and I've seen it in pre-season in spats, he's not played as much, is his ability to always be an option. Whether that's in behind, drifting out wide in behind, going direct over, or coming to feet. He occupies the centre-back at all times. Occupies the days. But he's not clean in terms of finishing. We know that. But he's physically dominant, and that's why he'll work in the Prem. In a certain role for Leeds, he will. Where Joe Perreault, like I said, is the box guy. Or the guy who can thread that needle pass. Or a guy who can do a sharp little technical 1-2 on the edge of the box and create a little shot. There, together, you have an excellent striker. But I've been seriously impressed with Mecha this preseason. I'm happy with him. I like him a lot. I like Perreault. I've always liked Perreault. But Mecha, the new player coming in, I've been really impressed with him. I like these two. I do. I think they're excellent options. But we need a star guy in there, don't we? I think we all know that. I think the club know that, obviously. That's what we need. We're dying out for it. But yeah, these two, very solid. Good. Now, back to... So this is each unit score. Obviously, I put into colours. They're all very similar because they were very similar. Added them together and then created an average. So on average, each unit is performing at 6.8 out of 10, obviously. which is good. It's above average. Now, looking at the team again, going through the thing, that's brought down by certain positions. The wingers, for example, who've probably not been at that level, really creating, really destroying fullbacks every week. The midfield, as you can see, slightly is probably the most effective area, and I think that works. I think that checks out. Striker, centre back, similar to fullback. See, it's very relative, very simple, because everyone was relatively similar. There weren't too much disparity, to be honest. Disparity. Now, this is the best one. So I've colour-coded each individual's thing, score. Obviously, I give each individual score. I've colour-coded it, added them together as an individual score, what we've done. I'm going to go through this mid-season and end-season to see if we've improved on them individual scores from pre-season. And then the individual average is 6.8. So the players are performing at around a 6.8. There you go. I like to just do this. It's just nicely colour-coded. But what you can see from this is the disparity. So you look at the fullbacks, for example. 2, Bogle, 3, Goodmanson. They're our starters, right? Behind them, the ratings are not great. Again, midfield, consistency, solid consistency. Again, striker, decent. Is there that standout? Is there that dark green? Wingers, again, look, bit of an issue for me in terms of what they need to do to improve. So yeah, that's just that. Feel free to, I like to do it. I know I'm weird. Now, the important slide. What do we need? I will move my head halfway through. I'll read the first 3, then I'll move it, okay? I've got the squads here. As you can see, I've got the question marks. This is what we need. Final outtakes from pre-season from what we need to improve. Not what's been good. I think a lot's been very good. What we need to improve. Always looking to improve. Number 10 is a question. What's going on there? Are we going to play one? Are we doing it because we don't have one? That Farke thinks can work. Listen to his press conference. Listen to what's been said by all the journalists and what Farke said after the game. He wants a creator. That would suggest he wants a number 10. That would suggest we would play with one. El Canoes, he can work in midfield. How does that work for the balance? Those are the questions. That's what we'll find out when we sign one. But we need a creator. This is key. This is so key. This is massive. Whether it's here or here, I don't care. We need a creator, whoever that is, whatever that is, we need it. We need a winger. The left winger, we've been told again, left or right for me, doesn't really matter. We need more goals. I've said that. We need more goals. Creativity, more goals. 100%. And that comes from the winger, that comes from the striker, that even comes from the creative player. Them 3 create more goals. More shots. I'm not happy with the amount of shots we've got off this preseason. We need more. We need more. We need to have more dimensions to the way we attack. 100%. And that comes from, again, time, obviously. But also bringing in the players that can change the dimensions. And with the players we've already got, stepping up and doing that, making them decisions. They're the first 3. Depth in fullback and striker. As you can see, question mark. Definitely need depth in fullback. Particularly if Bogle's injured, I believe he's fine. Or it's touch and go. But we need depth there because Schmidt isn't the level. Is Barden the level? Probably not. So if we get an injury from Goodmanson, we've lost all that left side. In terms of what he brings in the Prem, we can't just do a make-do. We can't just have a Goodmanson, then the opposite profile. We need a similar profile to any of them. This is my worry. You could argue we need 2 depth. Because it's a big part of what we play. And we know how unbalanced we can be and how different we look when we've got a different profile at fullback. So we need depth. Obviously, talk about striker. We need the man. We need more direct runners. That comes from the wingers. That could even come from the striker, even the creative guy. Direct with the ball. 100%. Willie needs to step up doing that. Ramazan needs to step up doing that. Aronson needs to step up doing that. They all do. All the wingers do. Metra does do that. Goodmanson has been doing that. Bogle has been doing that. Stack did that from midfield. And the last one, more set piece work, obviously. Striker could help with that. The creators players probably not. But the fact is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we scored from a set piece. We may have got one. I don't think we look different from last year. I just don't. I think it looks very similar. That's the big thing we've been saying. We need that in the Prem. We'll need that, or we won't stay up. No, not we won't stay up. But what I'm saying, if you're good at set pieces, you get goals from them. Good defensively, yeah, we always have been. Goals from set pieces. We'll need it in the Prem to win games, to get points. It's going to be important. Every year, it's important for every team. We need to fix that up. But yeah, that's it. Let me know, people, what you guys think, how excited for you the season. I can't wait. This video is not... It's always about how you can improve. I love what we've got. I'm looking at all these players on the screen. I love them. I think they're brilliant. We just need to help them out. We just need to bring more in that can do things that they can't, to create that really balanced team that has a little bit of everything that you'll need to stay up in the Prem. I can't wait. Was in for the Everton. I'm so excited. Love this club. Big up everyone. You're all legends. I'll see you guys in a bit. Bye-bye.